Hello, everyone. So, the con book actually kind of got the description of our panel wrong. We are actually about the electronics badges, not electronics in fursuits.
Microcontrollers and displays in fursuits.
Yeah.
That being said, you can apply everything we talked about today to that particular topic. There are people who are doing that. It's really cool.
Like right there?
Yeah, like I actually have a friend building a Progen helmet right now that's doing the same thing. But we're going to talk about kind of things we have in front of us, which are digital con badges.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, that's the... Oh, all right. Oh.
Yeah, like them colors.
Contrast isn't that great. Anyway,
we dim the lights.
yeah.
let me see.
Turn off the lights. This right here.
No. Kratos, it's over there.
Where? The house lights are back at the door.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good.
So that's why AB lives in the back. Usually.
Ooh.
Is this too dark?
Yeah, I have. Oh God.
Undo.
Undo. Control Z.
That here is just on and off, guys.
Somewhere.
Worse. How many zones?
At the front bank.
Yeah, so like we're doing displays.
Yeah, there's like 10 zones in this
They
room.
got it like wrong with the whole.
There we go.
All right, cool. All right, so my name is Kranos. Vortex is,
I'm Vortex Coyote.
and Raster is back there talking. Anyway, everyone has their own intro, but that is the laser point. I'm sorry. So I'm Kranos. I am a wolf, a Hokkaido wolf specifically. They're like a Japanese variant of the great North American wolf, but they've kind of gone extinct a long time ago, which is unfortunate. For my day job, I do graphic design and sysadmin type stuff, like I do IT, and by night too, I suppose. I enjoy doing it. So, let's see. Oh yeah, I love working with electronics, as you can clearly see, and taking stuff apart, which I'll definitely get into when I talk about the badges. I've been a furry since 2002, but I've only really started minting it since like 2007. Furry's gotten interesting since then. And I really enjoy snowboarding too, so that's like a big part of my persona. Who can read this? If you can't read the screenshot, so this is kind of how it all started. At one point do I have the date down? I don't. So one day, like Jib Kodi was just kind of thinking out loud, it's like, it'd be cool to like get a digital name tag or something that I can play an animation loop on. And I was like, huh. And I mean, yeah, surprised it happened on Telegram, but you're just thinking out loud about something he could animate, and like right there, I was like this is where the idea almost died. Like I was super skeptical about it because no one's ever done it, and it like had the slightest chance of being plausible. And like the literal first thing said it would be custom designed, it'd be bulky, and it would be heavy, and it would probably suck. And I was like, well, let's see what's available, see if anyone's done it before. And what we found wasn't really great. Like I think that's like a 2 or 3 inch LCD, maybe an hour battery life. Nothing. Everything was terrible. Nothing was good. Nothing really met our expectations. Like, if he's going to be wearing it, like, we want it to be visible, we want it to be big, but I'll get into that in a moment. So, this is what we wanted out of bed. It needed to play video. If it just played still, because he animates. If it just played stills, it wouldn't be interesting. We also needed, he's an animator. He's not a developer, so it needed to be easy where he could just like drag and drop files. It needed to be easy for him to upload videos to it without being a nerd, basically. Since it would also be something he'd be wearing in fursuit, it kind of needed to be like oversized, so like a 7-inch display is what we had decided on. And I had initially thought, so this was back, was it 2018, 2017, MFF 27, before MFF 2017.
Before MFF 2017.
It was like roughly August-ish of 2017. I decided that the badge had to last at least 6 hours. So I said, well, he's not going to be in fursuit for more than 6 hours, but joke's on me, he does like 12 hours in fursuit. Yeah. So, oops. It also had to be durable. It had to like keep all the innards safe. Like it had to keep the screen safe. It had to keep especially the big battery inside it safe. And I also needed to build something that I could. Oh yeah, it had to be cheap too, because like there really wasn't much of a budget, and I didn't want it to be something he had to like I didn't want him wearing like a $1,000 iPad, like something he had to be careful about, because if you've seen him, he's not really careful. And I didn't want something that it would be really expensive to like fix, or like if I had to like repair on the fly, which I did today.
You can say he's very animated?
Yeah, he's very animated.
Oh, man.
And I needed a design, and this one is important. I needed a design that I could work on my kitchen table or on my makerspace. Like I don't have access to a CNC like Vortex does. I don't have a makerspace didn't have a 3D printer that worked at the time either. So yeah, that's a lot. considering this thing didn't exist and no one's made it before, that was kind of a tall order. So I kind of broke down the project into milestones. Yeah, what's a milestone, Rester? he's actually a developer, so he has a better idea of how to explain what a milestone is.
Milestones are kind of like checkpoints that we add in the development process to make sure you're going the right way, right? So like if you add a milestone and you have a goal, it also makes you feel better when you reach it. If you think about your only goal being like, oh, the badge is done, then you kind of lose track. So the milestone's a good map as to how to get it all in one. And as you reach it, you also feel a bit better about the progress. You can measure progress. It's just a good feedback once you hit it.
Right. So no. This was very not an agile process.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! What happened?
They call it agile. It's never agile.
What button did that?
Fragile.
Very fragile.
Yeah. It's more like water polo. It's just bubbly.
Whatever button it was, do not hit it.
Yeah, there's like an Alt-Tab button out here or something. Anyway, so I had three milestones defined. The first one was finding a 7-inch LCD that was cheap, and it had to move video. Number two, or wait a minute, before I go on to that, like I could have done something custom with like a Raspberry Pi, but I didn't have much time left. So what I ended up doing was I went to Target and just tore a digital photo frame apart. It was the cheapest way to do it. It was quick. It already did the job. So, like maybe after I proved the design worked, I could explore a Raspberry Pi based solution. But I just went with a photo frame for now because, like I said, in case you broke it, it needed to be cheap. I can just rent Target and another one. Number two, a big display playing video is going to require a big battery. So that was number two. And I also needed a case that kept everything safe. So, like I said, the photo frame pretty much did the job out of the box, so this was a pretty easy milestone to cross. But it had to be modified to run off of battery. Most of the projects I design kind of runs off of wall power. It's like 12 volt or 5 volt USB. So I've never worked with something that was battery powered and had to work well under battery power. So this was a big first for me as well. By the way, like all the stuff that I've done, like I don't do this for my day job. So this entire thing was a learning experience for me. Also at this point, I had to start thinking about the size of the battery I wanted. So I decided on using those thin, like those lithium polymer packs that you usually find in tablets or cell phones. Is there anything else I missed on this? No. Yeah, so pretty much all the work was done for me, and it was cheap. Number two, finding a battery that would last. Initially, I used a 1 amp hour battery, and that roughly lasted 1 hour. So the math was easy. So I'm like, well, I need 6 hours, so I need a 6 amp hour battery. And the test video I used, I got like 7 hours, so that was satisfactory. Also, what was interesting was the battery life seemed to be influenced by the complexity of the video. The video he actually runs was actually less complex than the one I tested with, so he actually gets closer to like 8 hours out of it. But I mean, it got at least 6, so that made me happy. And milestone 3, the FurCon proof case. This was really the majority of the work because I've never done so. So we kind of had a vague idea of how we wanted it to look. We had to keep all the insides safe, especially with the battery. I went with stacked acrylic. What's up?
Look at those two.
Oh.
Oh my god.
So I went with stacked acrylic because my background is in graphic design, and if you work with a laser cutter, the files you feed into it is it's all vector based. And my background being in graphic design, if I could draw it in Illustrator, then I could cut it with a laser cutter. And that's exactly what led me to this particular design. And let's see, is there anything else? Also, yeah, these little hexagons are cool. I just kind of do it because it makes me look like I know what I'm doing, but it just looks cool. I cover everything in this. And here's some fun work in progress shots. There's me working spending some long nights in makerspace, and that's the first clear version of the acrylic. I made a lot of scrap, so I got a lot of clear scrap acrylic because I knew I'd be cutting a whole bunch of basically failures, really. There was probably about 6 of these that ended up in the bin because parts were too loose or stuff didn't quite fit right. But I finally had something that was workable. But we had a new problem. None of us had thought about how he'd actually wear it. It sat on the table, it looked good, it worked, it was fairly durable. But we had to think of a way how he'd actually wear it. But so we looked at normal lanyards, but most of them don't clear fursuit heads, and most of them are kind of thin that they kind of need your neck, and they're not really comfortable. So what we ended up doing, so the strap had to be comfortable, even with something heavy, and it also had to clear fursuit head, which again, not really a solution that really exists. But what we ended up doing was DSLR camera straps. They're cheap on Amazon. They're designed to keep like heavy loads like comfortable around your neck, and they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and colors on Amazon. So that was fun. Oh, look who's here! Like,
Lovely to help you.
Jib Kodi, everybody.
but yeah, in short, the case design was quickly designed or quickly modified to hold the badge. I tested out a plush toy. It worked. He seems to find it comfortable, and
It can get a little heavy.
yeah.
When you're at a rave, it gets very heavy.
Did you want to say some stuff about the badge?
Yeah,
Go
so originally I wanted to show my animation, and I'm like, oh, maybe there's like a badge that I can use. And I looked it up online and stuff, and it wasn't really a thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So, well, they had that, but it didn't look very reliable. The website was very sketchy, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll just use my iPhone. And trying that, if you have a video playing on iPhone for more than a couple hours, it'll probably die. So that's when I was just I mentioned this to Kranos. I'm like, hey, animated badge, what do you think? And was that your reply?
That was exactly it. I was like, that was the exact reply. And I started I mentioned earlier, I started criticizing. I'm like, well, it hasn't been done before. Like, it has to be custom. It'd probably be heavy. It'd probably suck. Like, I was not really about the idea. I'm like, well, maybe I just try it.
Try it, yeah. And then, but no, you were just kind of joking, and I was kind of joking. But I'm like, I know when my art doesn't move, I'm dead to the thing. That's what it is. My art has to move, and I'm like, I want to kind of show that somehow, and I don't want to carry a phone around, that's for sure. And even Kranos was like, ha ha ha, and then he actually was serious about it, and he started planning out how to build it, and he's like, look at all these layouts and stuff, and I was like, what? You're actually doing it? And then here we are. It has survived through many, many raves. A lot of this motion. And
It's taking some licks.
yeah, like that. A lot of fursuit piles. It has survived that.
Oh wow.
When you have a 6-foot raccoon basically ground pound on you.
Oh.
When the first time when that happened was at Midwest Fur Fest 2017, and when that happened, I was like, the badge is dead. It's gone. It's gonna be cracked in half. And when everybody moved out of the way, it was like, that's amazing. And even last year, I was going up that glass stairs. This came off. This one popped off, and the entire badge just fell on the stairs. And me, being an idiot going up the stairs, I was like this too. And I just see this orange blur all of a sudden just go,
Oh no.
and I was like, uh-oh, it's done. I looked, and it was fine. But then, behind the stage at Furry Park,
Oh yeah.
I sat it down, and it was dark, and it just kind of slipped off, and just kind of fell off the table like this. And then it broke.
Yeah, it survived all of that, and a fall off the table is what did it in.
Yeah.
But currently the running theory was so also I expected it to last at exactly 1 MFF, and it lasted.
Too long.
Yeah, it lasted a year and a half.
It lasted 10 comments.
Yeah, you weren't breaking them fast enough was the problem. But what my guess is, all the stresses it's been experiencing, it was probably the acrylic was probably developing these microfractures along the way, and the fall off the table is probably what did it in. That's my guess. I'm not an engineer. How many engineers do we have? Any engineers? Oh, a few. That's good. We pretty much covered that one. That's about. Oh yeah, there's this bit. I covered this part too. Like, you're gonna make a lot things I learned the hard way. You're gonna make a lot of waste. So the clear acrylic represents all the scrap cases I made, and the orange is which is what he's wearing right now. That's the finalized case I actually made. And the other thing I learned, if you buy stuff from multiple vendors, the battery connectors may not be wired the same way. So if you have to, like, make a drawing for yourself, huge, like, and put it on the wall. So, like, you know which side's possible. Because if you reverse battery polarity or any polarity, really, it's not good times.
Yeah. Magic smoke, things break, things blow up.
The batteries just say hello.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into Anthrocon 2018. These two guys started making their own badge. Jib had his, but I didn't have one for myself. I'm like, well, everyone else has cool badges except me, and I made them. So I happen to have an e-ink panel in my junk box. I was gonna do like a weather station type project, but never ended up happening. I drew out a design real quick in Illustrator, and I borrowed a lot of stuff from the badge I designed for Jib. So I was able to reuse a lot of skills I had learned along the way making that badge. And I had time to make, I had about 1 week to build a badge for myself before Anthrocon. And like, I was in chat with these guys, and they're like, you're nuts. Yeah. And so the other problem was, so with e-ink, the driver, like, it's all written in C++. I'm not a developer. I don't know any code. The last time I touched it was in like freshman year in college. That was, well, a long time ago. So I had to reteach myself C++. And there was a lot of problems. It crashed a lot. I have no idea why. It still crashes a bit. It still crashes. I'm still not sure why.
But it works.
Well, I somehow mitigated it by overclocking the microprocessor. Like, so it's an Arduino. Who knows what an Arduino is?
There you go.
Okay, almost everyone. That's great. So Arduino is a small little microcontroller, like 860 megahertz, small bit of RAM, small bit of storage, and a bunch of digital inputs and outputs. So you can control stuff with it. Is really the generalized definition of it.
Yeah.
Is that good? Yeah, for some reason it runs stock at 8 megahertz, and running at 16 megahertz instead makes it crash less. I still can't explain that. I had to relearn a whole bunch of C++. And the battery life it's good. It's not great, but it's good enough for a con. And here's some progress shots to get the e-ink driver to work. So first it just generated just pure trash. I mean, it looked cool, but it wasn't really worth anything. At some point I got this. I'm like, well, I see a nose. I mean, that's kind of close, which meant like, and I'm like, this part kind of looks right.
It's not somewhere.
Yeah, there's not somewhere in there. And like, so that meant like I flipped the X and Y axes. And at this point, like I got, like, that's a coherent image, it just flips. I just had to reverse the bitmap, and that's where I got my image. There's some cool progress shots. Just fit testing all the stuff. This is like 2 days before Anthrocon at this point.
Yeah.
Like just putting like, as soon as stuff arrived from Adafruit and Amazon, I just started fit testing stuff, making sure everything fit. I was cutting all the stuff at the makerspace. I already knew how to use the laser cutter at this point, so I would cut like maybe one scrap case maybe, and yeah, and then it's finished and it mostly works. And all the stuff is held in with just 3M mounting tape. Just find it at Home Depot or Walmart, Amazon, whatever. And that's basically concludes the journey of my 2 badge designs, and mostly Jib's badge, I suppose.
Yeah.
I was still amazed when you're like, okay, I made the badge, but just in case if that one breaks, I made a backup one too.
Yeah.
This is like 2 sets. He was like, he's basically Q from 007.
Yeah.
Giving me all these cool gadgets.
Then the clicker as well.
The click. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, the clicker for presentation.
Yeah, so
Does not be paused.
yes, I'll speak about that real quick. So you're doing a presentation at MFF, and like presentation clickers, like you're not operating this, like especially with these buttons with those paws. So I basically bought one of these on Amazon, like a bag of cheap arcade buttons. And so the initial one, where'd Mont just disappeared? He made fun of the initial design. So the initial design had all the guts stuffed into like PVC pipe, and it had arcade buttons on the ends. I'm like, this looks like a pipe bomb detonator. I'm totally gonna get flagged and airport for this. So I strapped that idea.
No, you took it to. Didn't you take it on a plane too?
No.
Okay.
No, I took pictures
That was
of
in part though.
No,
Okay.
I took it apart, and I put it in like a nice little black project box, and there's two buttons on it, and it worked out well. I mean, it literally, I took this, bought it on Amazon for like, I don't know, $10, maybe it was less than that, and it just contact switches, arcade button, just wired up, and yeah, it got operated with pause, and you guys fought over it too. You and I don't know what's his face went.
What's
Lunches.
No, not Munches. Moss.
JFET.
Oh, JFET?
Yeah, one of them.
JFET. One of those. Yeah.
I think. Oh yeah. So what's next? As far as the ink badge goes, something less crashy would be nice. and something a little more power efficient. Currently, the badge gets about 20 hours battery life. E-Ink should get way better than 20 hours battery life. It should get like 20 days battery life. It would be nice to like on demand refresh the image without rebooting it, because that's one of the only ways I could do it. Like it'd be nice to put like an accelerometer or something where you could just like shake it like an Etch-a-Sketch and it would refresh. Oh yeah, don't pound on it. That's a fun parlor trick, but no. Being able to add images to it a lot easier, because currently I just take the bitmap. Like you saw the hell I went through trying to get the bitmap to even look right, and that's half the battle. You have to convert it to a byte array and then put it in one of the memory spots in Arduino, and then compile it and then upload. Like it's a hassle. So maybe like an SD card for the for uploading images to it. As far as the color LCD badge, probably now that the design is more or less proven, maybe we go with like a Raspberry Pi based design, and probably a 3D printed case maybe. Like my 3D printer at the Makerspace actually works now, so I can actually export a solution now. And one specific request from Jib was the little. Can you hold up the power switch? The little tactile power switches. Those aren't easy to operate with Fursuit paws. So like a big push button to turn it on and off. Yeah. So that's probably what's in store for the next version of that badge. And I guess I hand it over to Vortex.
Hi.
Well,
what?
Did you have anything else to say? Are you done?
Me?
Yeah. Do you want to share anything else?
Well,
Yeah.
Literally.
Good thing there wasn't an alarm there.
Yeah. Good thing I wasn't alarmed.
Do first, think later.
It's cool though, because I know there's some of you out there who are shy to say hi to big fluffs. It's scary, but Dex brought up a good, Rasky brought up a good point, and Dex too, that this is actually like a pretty good icebreaker. People see it, and it's not just an awkward hello, but if engineering something like this is interesting, you could start a conversation by going like, that's a cool badge. What is it? A lot of times I get Raspberry Pi. I'm like, no, it's just a digital picture frame that's meant to be like this. And we just did that, basically. But
At some point, you just flip it over and like point to the name, because that's.
It's a great conversation starter, and I got a lot of that, and from there, I think I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't know what to say.
It's a good like way to show off your animations, even if there's someone that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not dead to the fandom.
Yeah.
Because my art's moving.
I mean, one really cool thing for me too is, I'm as much as I try, I'm not an artist. Kranos is an artist. Raster is not an artist, and I'm trying to learn to draw. But how do you contribute to a fandom when a fandom that's so in your mind and so about art that when we don't have a way to do it? So by doing these badges, we can actually kind of get back to the fandom and kind of show off ourselves by doing them. That's really cool for me. So
I'll let that segue into your intro there.
So, hi, my name is Vortex. I'm a Coyote. I'm actually, my day job is a cable TV head-end engineer for a local regional cable company. I'm not Charter, I'm not Comcast. Oh, okay, thank you. Yes. So please don't hate me. I try to do my best to keep everything running. And it's actually kind of interesting. Huh?
Larry, the cable guy.
No, I'm not the cable guy. I actually I've done install work before, so I feel for them. That being said, I got this position about 2 years ago, and I went from, one of the things I'm going to be talking about a lot is subjectivity versus objectivity. When I was in the field as a tech, I was a very objective person. It's really easy to make things look good. It's really easy to make things look proper and correct by when it's small. When I moved into the head end has lots and lots of wires, and I'm dealing with about 25 years of old cabling and poor standards. So I came in there going, oh my God, I have to get this all cleaned up. And the one thing that really helped me was I was talking to him, Kranos, one day, and I was like, I'm over my head. I can't be subjective. I want to rip all this out and start all over from fresh, and I can't do it. It's just no way. And he's like, you know what? I was talking about learning how to do art. He's like, you know what? Join the fandom. I've known him since college. I've been furry adjacent since like 2005, 2006. And he's like, join the fandom. I'm like, you know what? Fine. So I actually study industrial technology in college. So I don't have an EE background. I have more of a industrial electronics background. And I've learned a lot of what you're going to see here by YouTube and learning it on the fly. I love the maker movement. I love the DIY movement. It's really important to me that this is all open source. I will talk about my badge to anyone. There's no secrets behind it. I'm not gonna like, oh my god, this is my own thing. The DIY movement, the maker movement is all about sharing the information, and that's just awesome. So open source hardware, open source software. That's what I'm all about. This is my first year in the fandom. I actually created Vortex May 8th last year, and I decided I was a coyote about May 17th, I think. So this is my first anniversary. This is my second large con. We did this before at TFF, and this is also our second time doing this panel. So we do have video of this one. We're going to have video of the one at TFF. I'll be posting them to my YouTube channel, not the one I'm going to talk about here in a second. But in case you want to share it out, look at this board we're going to talk about later. So what inspired me to try this? Like I said, I've actually really been, how many people know DEF CON? DEF CON? Okay. You guys seen the hacker style like challenge badges, correct? So what these are badges that people going to DEF CON make that have like cryptology challenges, they have hardware challenges, and these are really cool. So like an example here is the DC Furs badge from last year. These are more PCB-based project badges that these are really cool to me. It's something that had multiple hurdles to design around. It was I want to kind of do this full-on project. I've done lots of little bits and piece stuff. I want to do one big main, like culminating project that actually has a finish point. I really liked the RGB LED displays. I've seen a lot of people use them, and I want to play with them. And Crano showed me this guy who does furry animations, and he built this badge for him. I'm like, that's pretty cool. So yeah. So how do I start building a badge? I started a YouTube channel. That's not the way to do it. That being said, it's actually been really cool for me. Again, going back to learning subjectivity versus objectivity, it's been really interesting to like learn that because it's really hard to be perfect on YouTube. It's really hard to be perfect with the equipment I have. So it's been a great learning experience. It does take a lot of time. Basically, for every, I'm putting, I think 3 to 4 hours of work recording, and another 4 to 8 hours of work doing editing on my videos for like a 16-minute video. But it forces me to be subjective. I also do a lot of this for project documentation. I've seen a lot of YouTubers that kind of show like one quick video, like, hey, this is all the steps. I want to show, okay, this is what I ran into. This is this part. I'm doing longer project videos. And again, it's getting back to the movement. Now, that being said, when I was at TFF last, April?
Whatever.
I had 98 subscribers, and I got crossed over the 100 subscriber mark because of people that subscribed to me from that panel. Then something blew up, and I got the YouTube algorithm hug, and I'm at 2,000, just under 2,000 subscribers as of today. So that's like blowing my mind right now, and I'm still getting used to that. So kind of like, what was my design? What was my goals? I wanted to use a RGB LED matrix. It's a Hub 75 that one of our other friends who couldn't be here today used, called his name's NX. So I designed the case around the resources I had access to, or at least I thought I had access to. I actually had a makerspace in Columbus, Georgia that kind of disappeared, for lack of a better term. They had a laser cutter and a 3D printer. And so I don't have a laser cutter, a 3D printer, or milling machine in my house, but I do mentor a robotics team who has a CNC aluminum mill. So I'm like, you know what? Why not try to do this in aluminum, which it's durable, it works. I really want to separate the hardware and the software. Being with my background, I work a lot with servers, and I work a lot with server software. So for me, I wanted to make it so the hardware is its own thing, but I could have an application that works on any particular display and kind of has the same common software across all of them. And I really want to build something that I could kind of work on, play with, and learn for future designs. So what do you have available to you? How do you design one of these badges? Makerspaces are a great resource if you have them. They do cost some money, but it's a great way to get access to tools you may not have. Also, one thing that kind of may help is if you don't have a makerspace, look for a community college. Look for a place that like a local school that might have access to machine tools that you can help mentor them on and teach them. So I do FIRST Robotics, and these are high school students building 120-pound robots, and they have teams that have hand tools to teams that have full-on water cutters and LCD or laser cutters and CNC machines. Also, reach out to people in your area that may have tools that you may not have access to. A lot of people that have them will be willing to help or maybe work with you on it. And also look for other local hobbyists. So this is one of the major regions I actually mentor for a robotics team, is because they actually have access to this mill over here. It's a Tormach 770. And this is actually the first part I ever milled on it. So this was a 3D printed design. This was the one we did in wax, and this is the one that we did in aluminum that actually made it to a robot that almost won a regional competition. And it was a little small part, but we need to make it durable, and that's what we tried to do, is you mill out of aluminum. And if you have one, they are fun to work on. They're really challenging to learn. But again, YouTube's a great resource. There's a gentleman by the name of John Saunders. He does a YouTube channel called NYC CNC. I can almost 100% attribute my skill on that machine because of him and watching his videos. And learning Fusion 360, learning how that machine operates was all because of him. So one thing I do is a little different from the other guys is I use Fusion 360 a lot. I found it really easy to basically mock up my design in Fusion. You can add parts and rotate them and figure out what works best. One also neat thing is look at things like McMaster Carr. I ran into a problem, which I'll talk about here in a second, with the design of my bolts. That I went to McMaster Carr and looked through their entire list of screws and figure out what would work best for my design. Even going down to your local hardware store and just kind of walking through the hardware aisle can give you ideas. So let's talk about the screw choice. How many have ever heard the term sex bolts? That is actually a legit term. I am not in an AD panel, so I can say it. It is a sex bolt. Sex bolt. People don't believe me when I say that. I have to give a link to the YouTube article or the Wikipedia article. Yeah, so they are basically screws that fit into each other. It's a bolt and a screw that fit into each other. Even the smallest ones were very thick, and I was milling this out of aluminum, and when I first did the first mock-up, I had to add about half inch of material around the bezel, meaning overall I'm adding an inch to the design.
I have a picture.
Well, yeah, but if you want to see it when we have one up there later. I was adding about an inch to the overall design, and it didn't look good in Fusion. I knew it wasn't going to look good in the badge. Well, what can you do? Well, I'm building out of aluminum. I don't have to necessarily I can mount things to the aluminum if I tap the holes. So that was what I did. I actually found smaller screws, tapped the holes, and the front protector and the back protector actually screw right into my aluminum frame. Those are the kind of things you have to think about when you're doing your design, is kind of think outside the box and figure out what you can do that works for your materials, your resources, and what you can do. The other problem I ran into was, how do I attach a strap? I'm not using a 3D cutter. I'm not using a laser cutter. I don't have access to do it. So, I want to be able to have the badge work in both directions. But the machine, if you ever see a CNC machine, it's basically a bit that goes down like this and can be moved in up, down, left, right, and north, south. So how do I make a hole that goes this way without remounting everything? I didn't. I actually, I want to make sure I didn't have that many operations where I moved the piece in the machine, because it's really hard once you start moving it to keep everything squared up in center. So what I ended up doing was cutting a little slot in my frame and using a pin to attach a strap. And it works surprisingly well. The problem I ran into is I had some issues with the pins. I wanted they're actually deep cut slots, so there's a potential for the pin to twist. And also, I kind of want to block the holes when it's not in use, because they are pretty big holes. Hello. It's actually what I did in this particular model. I used hot glue to just kind of keep the pins in place. But so far at this con, it's not been a problem. I thought it'd be more of a problem than it was. But you can see here, these are the slots I cut in. So this is actually just a 1-inch pinhole, and I cut the slot length here to match what you'd normally see on a DSLR camera strike. I want to say 3/4 or a half inch.
Yeah, I think it's like half inch.
Half inch, but they're pretty standard. And the pins just drop in, and it's held in place by my plexiglass back. So this is the current design. It is a little thick. Overall, this badge weighs 1.75 pounds, which when my raw aluminum was 2.5, I'm actually really happy about that. You want to see how heavy that one is compared to yours? But the nice part is it's aluminum. It's very durable. It shouldn't.
I'm worried about the table.
Yeah. Well. So let's talk about some of the things I ran into doing this, doing the build by itself. So I did this. This is actually wired up and working as of Thursday morning at 2:00 in the morning. The wiring here.
Cutting it closer than I did.
Yeah. This I was supposed to make it TFF. I couldn't make TFF because my team went to World Championships and was gone the week I was going to go build this at the team at the team space. So the wiring is actually kind of challenging because back here, the way I wanted to make this all flow, I actually had to do a weird cross connect between my Raspberry Pi Zero and my the driver board for the LED matrix, which is a Raspberry RGB matrix bonnet from Adafruit. So I actually had to wire in the 25 pins and flip them over and make sure I got the order right, which was a challenge. And there's supposed to be 2 of these. One of them still at my bench at the house because it didn't work when I wired it up. So I tried doing this one and it worked. So one of them made it. So what can go wrong? Wiring will always trip you up, especially when you're doing wiring like this, point-to-point hand soldering wiring. It will always get confusing. It will always trip you up. Make notes, take documentation, and you're still probably gonna get it wrong. Remember, especially if you're coming to a con with one of these, bring tools. I had a problem with mine where the power switch kind of got jammed up, and the hot glue I used to attach it made sure it didn't turn on and off. So I actually didn't bring the Torx bit to open the badge up, so I kind of had to make it work with what I had available, which was my Leatherman and a pair of toenail clippers.
Did you still need that Torx bit?
No, I don't need it anymore.
Not anymore.
It's working. I'm not going to touch it right now. I'll fix it later. The strap attachment. Actually, one thing I did not consider after doing all this work with the strap attachment.
And you knew about it after I did mine.
What was that?
The strap.
What, that comes off?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does slip off. So I was like, well, I didn't expect the strap to slip. I expected the pins to slip and turn, but the strap does come off, and I actually got to fix that. I'm realizing it's almost coming off right now. It does come loose, so even these straps will eventually come loose. But it still works. It is alive, and I'm happy about it. The cool part is it just came off right now. The cool part about my design is it actually works with animated GIFs and 32 by 64 pixels, and I can dump as many as I want on the Pi, and it'll automatically cycle through them currently. So what's next? This is my Mark I badge. This was the kind of a test bed. I knew it wasn't going to be pretty. It wasn't going to be elegant, and it's going to be nice and heavy. But I really want something I could basically take to work, mess around for a little bit, and do testing on the software. I really want to play with high-def OLED badges. If you see the OLED displays in new phones, they look beautiful, and they're actually pretty low power. And they can be a lot thinner. That being said, the interface with them is called MIPI, and it's very interesting and very difficult to work with. I basically need to get into PCB design and do some soldering.
If only we knew someone that did PCB.
Oh my God.
Well, I understand that, and I want to. I'm planning to help and learn from him. But they're also much less power hungry. A lot of the weight that's in this badge is because I have an 8,000 milliamp hour battery, and I still don't know exactly how long it runs because I've had problems charging it because of the power switch issues. And there's also different forms of microcontrollers and different forms like FPGAs you can get into that may be better for doing the heavy lifting of the display. Basically, with the Raspberry Pi on this particular display, it's doing something called bit banging. So it's basically just turning the GPIO on and off to refresh the display. Except that it has to refresh something like 30 times a second or 60 times a second. And it's doing 3 or 4 different color draws of the screen to do the RGB, along with the brightness. And it's basically keeping the Pi running about 30 to 50% CPU all the time. So that it's not exactly what the Pi is designed for. If I can move that over to an FPGA and just have the Pi just give it the images, that'd be ideal. But that's the story of my badge. So I'm going to hand it over to Raster.
Thank you. So, my name's Raster. I am probably the least knowledgeable one here. I am a software engineer and a game developer by trade, but I have no idea on hardware. So how much of you all think that was like very complicated hardware stuff? Yeah, trust me, this is scary stuff. Like you look at this stuff and you're talking about FPGAs, Raspberry Pis, microcontrollers, all this stuff. Don't worry, I knew nothing. I wanted to know more about hardware. I know how to program. I want to know how to more about hardware. I needed a creative outlet as well. I kind of like engineering work is very methodical and slow, and sometimes you need to be a bit artistic. But I didn't really want to draw. Like, drawing is not my thing. There's a lot of artists in the fandom. They're very talented. A lot of times the fandom kind of brings you, kind of like nudges people to try and draw as well. And I kind of thought like, well, I think we can apply what we know into the fandom as being engineers, not bring the engineering out of you into the fandom. So I wanted to do more technical stuff in the furry fandom. So I wanted to get a badge, kind of like I saw Jib's, and it was very simple. It's this guy here. All you needed to do was display a static image around my neck, make it a dynamic boop, and I wanted to learn how to solder, because like I said, I wanted to know a little bit of hardware, and then maybe last a couple of hours. That was it. So I was off to the races. No, I'm just kidding. The first thing you do in these things is you kind of have to know where your gaps in memory are, like on knowledge is, like what do you need to learn, again, the milestones. Like my first thinking was, hey, what if I can just put an image on the screen? Like literally that's your first milestone. You want to see an image on the screen because like when you see this and you see Jib's badge and you see Dex's badge, you think, wow, there's so many steps. It is the Tower of Babel all the way up and you're never going to reach it. In my case, I wanted to learn how to solder, so that's what I was going to incorporate into this project. So I just threw it together. I picked up a couple of devices on Adafruit because they're often cheap. This is just a little $20 bonnet, and this just plugs right into a Raspberry Pi. And this is a $10 Raspberry Pi. This was $35 all said and done, and powered it. And there you go. I put an image on screen. That simple. That is the first iteration of my badge, and that was my old design. But yeah, like once you see these things, it's like it helps you motivate you into doing it more. Because so try to make sure that as you're doing all these steps and all these assembling whatever idea you have, just see it working. It's a good boost in confidence. That was the limit of what I knew how to do. That was it. Like I knew how to put an image on the screen, and that was just running like an operating system and opening an image. That was it. The complexity of this was moving this from Windows to Linux, and that was it. So I learned how to solder. That was the first board I ever soldered.
He sent those to us in the chat, and we were kind of mean. Kratos were like, oh.
Yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty. Like, oh my God, that was a critical hit right there.
I thought those were Hershey's Kisses.
Like, if you see it like that, I raised the trace on the board. That pretty much caught fire if it could have. It was great. This one was okay. This one was a great. Like, that one is the example. That one's probably the last one I did. But guess what? It worked. Joke's on you, that worked. I was like, you can break tomorrow, but it works today. And then you started getting better at practice. This is something I soldered for the power boost, and then I was like a dog with a bone. Like, I'm gonna solder everything. Everything is gonna get soldered onto everything. I ended up not even needing this guy, but you get really excited. You're like, oh, I'm gonna need this eventually in the future. That was because I didn't plan.
One thing to point out too, just as a bad onto the soldering thing, it still happens. You will still lift pads. I lifted a pad on my other badge when I was billion. It's the nature of the beast. So don't worry about lifting pads. Everyone does it.
Yeah.
By the way.
Just wait till you learn how to surface them.
Yeah.
So the Adafruit Power Boost is the thing that lets you charge the device off a USB. It charges the battery and it runs the device to keep the battery from exploding. It handles all the battery stuff for you. It's great. All the badges that we've designed use that one component.
They use a power boost in one way or another.
Power Boost 1000C off Adafruit.
Yeah, I think one of them uses a 500, but most of them use the 1000. And yeah, you get better at practice. This was me building the badge here. Like these are the power LEDs. Like I ended up not using. You were supposed to use a USB, but I ended up just soldering it directly onto the board because now I got to solder and I know how to solder it. So I got to use it. And there it is. Like I literally wore this to AC last year, and that's what it was. The downside, I glow blue whenever I was wearing it. It's not bad. At least I know when the battery's running out because then I glow red. So it's a good design. Honestly, one of the things you can learn is once you're done is always analyze your work. Do a postmortem. Like, see what you like, what you didn't like, what can improve, what can you take away. Also, beat yourself up on it, but don't take it personally. Like, a lot of times when we do these things and we make mistakes and you think about it and you take it very personal. Like, and that will act as a weight and you will stop losing momentum as to doing what you want to do. So honestly, just like, if it did a service purpose to do what it wanted to do, just do that. So, as you can see, like, this thing was terrible. Like, the case, like, this screw is like turned that way. It cut me a couple times. There was a blood price on this badge. So yeah, no. Now I needed a proper case. So this is when this guy came in, and he wanted to have a bigger screen, more LEDs, an LED screen. An LCD screen. Always have like more power and all these stuff, and like, yeah. And I wanted to learn how to use a. Kratos was doing all this laser cutting stuff. I'm like, that looks fancy.
That's all I knew how to do.
That's all I knew how to do. But all I knew how to do was soldering. I couldn't make a case out of soldering. So I went to a laser cutter. So this is really cool. Like, I literally learned how to laser cut for this project as well. So like, you can learn. You don't need to be a geek. You don't need to know this stuff beforehand. You can learn it as you go. This took me about 6 months to build.
Just take your time.
So my laser cutter is actually from my local public library. My local public library has a laser cutter free for use as long as you bring the materials, and they give you classes. So look for any type of online resources. Look for public libraries, maker spaces. There's all this information available as to learn how to do these things, and then you have to test it. Like, and then ask the people that manage these things because they know what to do. In fact, they probably saved my life one day because I brought in a pane of not acrylic, polycarb. And when you hit polycarb with a laser, you make chlorine gas, and that is not compatible with life. So they were like
the materials that laser is made out of.
Yeah. So yeah, literally, do not heat it up. So yeah. So like, you can see these results. Like, it's really cool. I learned how to use like Inkscape as well for this. Has claws. Exactly like that. And then these are like the building. As I'm like building on it, it's just it's a good feedback. You see it working. It feels nice. So one of the things that when you end up with the tool, the device in your hand, you end up seeing that you have more power. Like, you read what you're doing with the Raspberry Pi. It's like, oh, it's running Linux. It can do all these cool stuff. It has a GPIO. And then you see like all these Adafruit components, like, oh, someone has a GPS or like something that reads velocity when you shake it. Like, if you wanted to be interactive, that's in there. Like, just like figure out what you want to do with it and kind of figure out ways to apply it, and then step by step build it. Like, a lot of people will get hung up on seeing the final product and then just saying like, why isn't it just not working now? Like, my first badge, it was just an image. The second badge is this. I've had ideas on what I do on my version 3. You just have to take it step by step. You can't think about it as a completed product. You have to think about it as a step by step thing. So in my case, the screen actually has a GPU, and this is something that I know how to do as a game developer. So I can actually have it dynamically like update the images in the post process. And I'm actually going to start adding other stuff like vertex animation so I can make my hair wavy. Or have some eye tracking or stuff like that. But that's more software. So those are some of the examples of like what it does. And then of course you have the boop. So you can boop the snoot on any version of this badge. So yeah, some tips for running this on the software side. Always have like if you're developing on a PC, whatever, Mac, Linux, always make sure that you have like the PC version working, because debugging and figuring out problems on the device is really hard. Like, Make sure that you can see it on Windows. How many here have ever written code or are developers or something like that? There you go. You got a good amount of figure. So it's nice to leave it there until it goes into the Pi. And then, of course, you may have some problems with the Pi itself, but at least most of the issues are done. Mine, for example, when I end up building mine, it actually automatically deploys all the files. So you can think of apply your own little tricks to it. Yeah. These are some of our. We're gonna segue a bit into like some of our friends and what they're doing. Enix is also part of our Fur group here.
Collectively, he's built more beds than all of us.
He's built more.
He keeps experimenting and building new things.
This is like half of the badges that he's made. He's made one out of like a Sony.
His current badge is off of Sony.
The Watchman.
Watchman,
yeah.
So he has a CRT, mini CRT TV. Like remember those commercials? Like people were watching football or something. He has one of those, and
it's like 4C
he hooked
batteries.
it up.
It's not light.
It's like this big.
Very big. The best part is when we talking to him, is like, he'll be like, "Oh, this is a NX badge like 4," and then like 5 weeks or like a week later, like NX badge 7. Like, what happened to the other two? Oh, I didn't scrap them.
Scrapped them.
Yeah, he iterates and fails fast. That's probably
his method. His method is fail fast, which is also a good way to look at it. Something will go wrong.
Yeah.
So and NX finds the quickest way for it to go wrong. I promise you.
And he actually uses a lot with his 3D printer to do the cases, which allows him to iterate quicker.
Yeah. We also have like more complex design. We have a friend that does a completely custom PCB design, and literally has to SMD solder all these things or hand solder all these things. So we have an example of what it looks like here. It is crazy.
And keep in mind too, these things are ridiculously cheap now. You can get these from China with your own design, really stupid cheap, and they are top quality PCBs.
Yeah.
So it's something. It's an option.
I don't know. Does Manchus want to say something about this?
So he's actually in the group here. So Manchus, he's the one that designed this PCB.
Manchus,
come
on. Hey guys, I'm Manchus. I'm an electrical engineering student, and I designed this cool PCB. So,
I don't know. It's like I said. Like you can take it any level you want. Like we got all off the shelf parts. He did his own design. Sorry, you have a question?
Yeah, what software? Altium, KiCad?
So I use KiCad. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to use, and yeah, it's easy. It's a piece of cake.
So.
I'll talk about like the design, I guess. So as you can see on the screen, it's a bit bigger. You can see like on the top right, that's like the Raspberry Pi, right? So the Raspberry Pi just like slaps on like right there, and then HDMI connects, and then you have the display that connects to like that portion on the right. And then you know how they were talking about the power boost earlier, the 1000C, right? Well, I kind of just reverse engineered that and put that on the top left. So the battery circuit is all built in. It's nice because it's all integrated to one board. So it's like super thin.
So how this kind of started was like, wow, I have like 5 separate Adafruit components in the case. It'd be nice to have on one board. Hey, Manchus. And then he's like, Manchus is like,
no. Manchus was like, you're all doing it wrong.
Pretty much.
And he was like, nope, let's do this. And I'm like, okay.
It's just dumb cheap to get them made. I mean, the last board I got from China was 7-day turnaround from order to my house.
But yeah, like we said, we're not EEs, and then it was like, oh, and the EE comes into the group, and it's like, all of you, be gone.
Driver control. I'm like, oh god, they're gone.
That's the plan in the future.
That's what happened.
The minute that I learned PCB design versus just laying out schematics, it's like, oh my god, because it's just so easy to get a quick turn on a board, fail at Rev A, and just go on to Rev B.
Yep.
All right, so one warning that I'll give is, so I just realized this after the board came in. So I use like 0402 components, which is, I forget, it's like
really tiny?
Like really tiny.
So, how many millimeters is that?
It's 0.04 and 0.02, or 0.4 and 0.2 millimeters. It's like, it's crazy. Like, the tip of my soldering iron is like at least a millimeter. So like, it's just like, I'm just stabbing at it and like hoping it sticks.
hoping it'll stick. I've seen a short there, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. So we've also had like a friend of ours here, Latchy's the suitor here, Cutie.
By the way, everyone give him a round of applause. New lacy suit as of today.
Yeah. And we have Kay's. We have another e-ink badge here. It's also, this one's a color one. So that one you can get them like in yellow, red, and blue. I think it is.
Not blue yet.
Okay.
They're working on it.
You want to come up and talk about it?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Hey
This is
everyone.
Kay.
Hi, I'm Kay. So I kind of started with Dex here is actually my other local coyote where I'm from, and introduced me to the rest of these guys. And because I'd been talking about, hey, it might be really fun to do one of these, and see the people going around with them, specifically like the LED ones, like the one you got right there, seeing like some of those and going, those are pretty neat. I kind of want to do something like that. And it wasn't until we got to like Micro Center, I was looking around, I'm like, I don't really like any of these a whole lot. Let's go see what's on Adafruit. And seeing e-ink display, I'm like, I want that. I want to do that. So my first revision was, this is not the first revision either, just like everyone else is here. This is like revision 3, basically, actually. So my first time around was using a Raspberry Pi and a Snap-on display. Quick thing, don't ever be afraid to, like, a lot of us have custom stuff here. Don't ever be afraid to just get off-the-shelf stuff and put something together. There's nothing wrong with doing that at all. You're still basically putting your imagination and everything into it, and that's what's really important about this. So starting with that, I was having a lot of fun with putting things with, like, working with Python and everything, because I'm not a programmer either. I do sysadmin work, so like Python's really more my focus because of scripting. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll just get this 2,000 milliamp hour battery. It's not too huge. It'll fit in places. Let me go ahead and put a timer on here so I can see how long the battery lasts and go to work and come back, and it lasted for 4 hours. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to work. This e-ink display is supposed to be lasting forever. That's not going to work out. So Kratos had me beat on that one already.
I just used the bigger battery. I cheated.
Well, you're not using a Raspberry Pi. You're using the ESP32.
I'm using ESP32.
Yeah, that was my second revision. There are a ton of chips out there now too. Besides just like a lot of them under the branch name of Arduino. So many different ones. So my revision 2 was the same chip he was using, ESP32 with Wi-Fi, and that's actually the photo that I wore at MFF. It was not actually live at MFF. I had a SD card problem where, for one, I left my actual SD card at home, and for two, I learned that a Chromebook is not very good for doing this kind of shit.
But it was a static image, right? Because e-inks keep their image.
And that's the thing, is I already had the image I really wanted to show off, which is a custom commission work from a friend. Apparently doing like really resource limited stuff like this is a lot of fun for some people, so that was kind of neat. So like you said, it's e-ink. It will hold that picture forever. And like I actually didn't even power the screen back on until 6 months later. Like literally like a week ago is when I powered it back on again. And it was no worse for the wear at all.
That was my problem with the e-ink badge. Like, I didn't know it was crashing. I just noticed that the image wasn't changing. So I had to like watch the debugger and see like a stack trace show up.
Same thing I had going on.
It would crash, and I just wouldn't know about it because it would just sit there.
But yeah, like
just don't feel bad.
Yeah. So like, so don't feel bad about Kay said, like using all these off-the-shelf parts, and don't think that you have to go this way either. These are like some other examples of like digital displays, like the scrolling text LED. This is a DC Furs, DEFCON Furs badge. And they SMD mounted a ton of LEDs, and they have different things showing off on that. So don't think of like this is like the path. Like think about like how you want to show off, what you want to show off, and how to get there. And then because Annex wasn't here, he just wanted to drop a gift for you guys. He is one of the, like I said, he's one of the presenters. So yeah. Any questions?
We have tutorials for creating these things online.
So, I actually went, like I said, the reason I started my YouTube channel was kind of documenting it. So I'm doing kind of what tutorials I use. I put in the video comments. A lot of times it's like we kind of, the way we I don't think anyone was running a proper tutorial for one of our badges specifically. What we're doing is like, okay, how do you do this? How do you do that? And we're Googling that and figuring out how to do it. there's a couple Telegram groups out there, like electronic fursuiters, that you can bounce ideas off of and talk to. We have a little group chat amongst us where we're like, hey, did anyone try this
Bounce ideas,
before?
yeah.
And kind of figure out who has the resources and who's looked at it before. So,
Yeah, so like one of the things that we do is like I have my code up there, so like my code is up in Git. It's not on the site, but like if you message me through that TG handle, that Twitter handle, I can get you the code that I use to run this. But like all these things, like we all have different approaches. So like it's better to do it piecemeal. Like, oh, this is how you use a power boost, or this is like some tips and tricks for it, other than doing like the full thing, because everybody's gonna do a bit different. Like that step by step, we've thought about it, but we don't think it really makes a lot of sense to make it like step by step of this badge or that badge, because
No, I mean, if you're just getting started, having something from a step-by-step tutorial from start to finish is the way to get familiar, right?
yeah. And then another thing is that we thought about is like we understand that it's very complex. Some of these have upkeep and technical. It's not a plug and play or like next finish kind of thing. We want to get there. We want to be able to say like, oh, this is like not exactly a finished product, but like something that people can look at and just have least hassle as possible kind of thing.
but
right?
it's something it's something we consider. It's a neat idea. I see where you're going with that. So,
Do you have an idea, like what you sort of wanted to?
Not really. I'm a software engineer, so I haven't done much in the way of the hardware. So just having some place to start. Hey, if you want to make one of those little green badges, here's a start to finish for constructing your first one, and then from there you can start branching out to be like sizes, different.
So Adafruit, Adafruit has a great Adafruit's a great resource, like all around, like not just for parts and stuff, for whether you're gonna go ahead and make your finished product from that or you're just using it to learn. Like this has the LCD, the panel on mine is not from Adafruit, but everything else inside of it is. The Featherwing, which those are great boards because they have a built-in battery charger. So no matter which one of those you get, you can just plug in your battery. You don't have to worry about it at all. It will take care of all of that for you. But they have a ton of guides. That's the best part.
Their documentation is really
good.
Yeah.
Learn.adafruit.com. They have like not necessarily for each of these, but they are great starting points. And they actually have something very similar to the video badges. They're the Hallow Wing one, the like skull looking one. Okay, they have one that's got like an LCD built in.
Yeah, they did one for Halloween for doing animated eyes, and they also did, I think, another one for the bigger display.
Oh yeah, I've seen the one with the eyes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They are an excellent resource just for getting ideas, whether you go with it from start to finish that way, whether you just use it to get your reference, your bearings in that.
But for your point, I see where you're going. Come talk to me afterwards. I got an idea.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, all I was going to say is, like it already got mentioned, get to know your catalog. Seriously, go to Digikey, go to Master. A lot of these LCDs when you're driving often have ICs or dedicated chips to use them. You go to the data sheet, you get schematic use cases. A lot of these, like driving software use, Similar CX5 has pages and pages of registers you need today.
Yep.
Refreshers. Data sheets. These companies are making chips, they want to sell them. They're going to make them as easy as they can to use, so they're going to write that documentation.
And there's a lot of great software libraries I've seen people doing for them. Like I hate to keep using mine as an example. The library that comes with that panel from WaveShare is terrible, but some other people have written a ton of other ones. I'm using a GXCP.
Figuring out the stupid protocol for the e-ink.
Yeah,
you'll get that.
They're really bad.
Well, no, but see, one on the left's the first start. It's like, man, I got it to refresh.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, step one. That's step one.
Do something.
Yeah,
that's important.
It responded to my exclusive.
I'm like, I kind of see a nose. That's good. That's progress, right?
Yeah.
It's all a trial and error. A lot of trial and error, like a lot of discovery of like what's out there as well. Like I'd some days like between work I'd just browse Adafruit to see what's available and try to get ideas in my head.
Digikeys are really fun.
Digikey, all these things.
Digikey's kind of overwhelming too. So.
Yeah, Digikey is super overwhelming.
Anything else? Anyone else? Comments? Questions?
Well, I'm trying to get into like a NeoPixel project, and I'm trying to figure out what would be the best to drive it, because I'm thinking of getting Adreno Metro from Adafruit to drive it, and like what type of battery source I should use, like what is too much and what is like too little.
So, like, one of the things like that depends on how much it draws, right? So, like, one of the things that we do is that we actually we don't hook up the final battery we're going to use. We actually try to see how much it'll last, like connected to a smaller battery. We'll have like a 2,000 amp hour battery, a milliamp hour battery, and then we'll see how much that lasts. And then, like Crano says, like, oh, it lasted 4 or 5 hours. That's good, I guess.
Right. I started with a 1 amp hour battery, and the last hour, like, well, that's not going to do. But I had an idea how long a 1 amp hour battery lasted. And it just so happened the math was really convenient. A 1 amp hour battery lasted 1 hour, so it drew 1 amp. So a 6 amp hour battery runs for 6 hours. That's so. Also, you could, if you have like a bench supply, like if you have you can monitor the current drop, but that's. I think we can start plotting it on. Yeah.
It all depends on and how much space you have. Like you have to consider like if those the more dense or larger the battery, so. You just have to. Sometimes you're work constrained.
Yeah.
Sorry, you had a question? Yes.
Well, I just want to throw a quick comment. So, you think 3 images. The one on the left is like, as you said, it works. But the one in the middle, to me, feels like something you would see on a power knife.
There's someone in Dealer's Den that has like. I think it's like a shirt or something that has that pattern on it. I kind of want to buy it. It's like this glitchy aesthetic.
Yeah,
it's actually really cool.
So actually,
it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Speaking of glitchy things, we're talking about Annex's badge. Annex has a Sony Watchman CRT display, and he was like, "I want to do this glitchy thing that Raster's doing on his badge." Well, it just so happens that with analog, the way he had a power cable ran, it was doing this cool analog glitchy thing that even we can't reproduce in software. It's like, it's awesome. That's the kind of things that you can do that just surprise you.
For his input, it's composite video, and he took like the absolute nastiest path he could take. He like ran it through the middle of the power supply, and it's getting like, if there's like an FM radio station nearby, it'll get noise.
So yeah, he wanted to do something like that, like it's a horizontal like analog video problem, and then I have like an old like a broken CRT cathode, and like I have all these effects on it. So he's like, oh, that's really cool, let's do that. And he actually kind of accidentally did it, which if you know Linux, it sounds about right.
Yes.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
I actually do have a question.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, approximately, how long does it take to make from start to finish?
It took me about 6 months to do mine.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it depends on how much time you put into it. I mean,
it's not 6 solid months of like full time either.
No, it's not full time work. We do it like on our off hours. We keep each other motivated. You'd be surprised on how much of that work on those 6 months is a week before the con.
Yes. Or hours before the con.
Yes.
And a lot of planning, coming up with what exactly you really want.
Yes.
Someone? Yes.
Yeah. Have you guys been able to find OLED screens
Yes.
in the market already?
Yes. So there's not flexible
Not
ones?
really. Foldable ones only because they're so new, even the cell phones. I mean, you've heard about it happening with the foldable Galaxy, right? Yeah. It lasted like 2 days. So that's really new technology. OLED, like the OLED displays that you can find for cell phones that you can get off like AliExpress or Alibaba, those are neat. We're going to probably play with those a little bit, but they're still kind of on the cutting edge. Huh?
Scratch that. If you want like a good cell phone screen, there's a product called the Manga screen, and it has its own controller and everything, and it's a 1080p screen.
Is it OLED?
It's OLED.
Oh, is it?
Oh, wow.
Yes. And it's that one is. I'm planning on moving into that, but I didn't want to spend like 120 on screens before I got this working. So like, don't blow your budget. That's a good way to put it as well.
Yeah.
If you don't know, if you're just starting out with this stuff, you don't know a single thing about whatever you're doing, what is the best place to start? Arduino, Raspberry Pi, or
Arduino.
I would say Arduino.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking to do more of the hardware stuff, like just blinking LED, go Arduino. The Raspberry Pi, you have to learn Linux. You have to learn more
It's a
like
computer.
software.
It's
learning how to operate a computer.
Arduino is like, it'll do one thing, and then you can find Arduino that works for you, and then they'll have a lot of guides on how to do that step by step, because that's all it does.
Yeah.
When you bring in the Raspberry Pi, it is a complete CPU. It runs Linux. You can do a lot of it. You have to code more for it, and more things can go wrong. I was debugging Vortex's badge yesterday and adding scripts into init RC and all these stuff, and it's not. Like that is a level above. Yeah, that is a level above when you bring in a full blown operating system.
Any other questions?
Yep.
That's another power question. With some of these boards, they can be powered and charged through their own onboard USB. Do you recommend scrapping a battery altogether, especially in something like a fursuit where LiPo is more dangerous because of overheating, or?
The temperature for batteries overheating is a lot higher than what you're going to get in a fursuit.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's much
it's much
Yeah,
harder.
I've always hear like these fire stories and all. Where
So
someone had it in the pocket or something.
Make it removable, yeah. So actually, that's always been a concern with like Progens and stuff like that because their helmets is battery powered. Like, drop it. Like you need a way to be able to drop the battery. The batteries are energy, like you said. They can be dangerous. Make sure to treat them properly. And then don't stitch it to your fursuit. Jib is like, oh my god, no. No, but
entire time?
Yeah. Yes, this entire time.
I mean, that was a concern. Like, I did.
We omitted it.
Yeah, that's like
Yeah, it's battery. It's using that super strong battery tape that you find in cell phones. I forget who I spoke to, but they said you should keep at least 1 or 2 millimeter around the battery because the batteries do expand and contract when you charge them.
On the charger,
and someone said 2 millimeters is enough. And I was concerned about because as I was designing that was during the Galaxy Note 7. And I think they used 0.4 millimeter and they're supposed to use 0.6 or something. Like, okay, you know what? My laser cutter isn't more precise than the millimeter anyway. So if I use 2 millimeter, that's perfect.
Yeah,
you can always use funky foam to take up space and bring it in. Too.
Yeah. So they're just as dangerous as your cell phone. In other words, treat it well. Drop it if you need to, because do not stitch it to do not attach it permanently to your fursuit.
A lot of batteries catch on fire because they get punctured or they get bent.
These things actually also have look for your battery source. A lot of them will protect from a short, so even if they actually touch, you will just fry a circuit and you cannot use the battery. They will not actually explode.
Adafruit batteries. Very, very safe to buy.
Yeah, so a lot of battery packs you buy from Adafruit, they already have that protection circuit built in. You'll hear Adafruit mentioned a lot because a lot of the pieces that we use, they kind of already designed and they're already kind of proven designs to begin with.
Yep. But I was thinking using a small cell phone battery pack, kind of like what he has there.
Uh-huh. So these are always great.
Running something like that, just let's say Arduino straight off the bat.
That's actually not a bad idea because the thing is that if you can hide it in your suit, that's fine. We cannot. That comes with a lot of bulk that we cannot fit into the thing, so we just use the LiPo batteries. But if you can hide it in your suit and you can run a cable to it, that's fine.
NX actually runs a fursuit area network, and there's he wears this enormous LiPo pack kind of. Actually, no, he has a power bank. It just runs the USB cables everywhere. That's kind of.
So it's doable. If you could hide it, then I would say go for a battery pack.
Yeah.
They're better designed. I have a 20 amp hour. That'll last forever. And it's about yay big. It's about a brick, and you can put it on your back, and you'll probably never notice.
If you're going down the power bank route, make sure keep the cable length as short as you can because you probably lose a lot of voltage if you start running really long cable.
Yeah. Yep.
Shouldn't be too much of an issue with the Arduino stuff at least.
The Arduinos don't care.
Yeah, because they're more low power. Yeah.
Over there.
If you go the power bank route, make sure that the power bank can actually output the current you're trying to
Yes.
Yes. 1 amp, but what they really mean is half an amp.
Half an amp. That's also true about when you're charging these things. Give it time. Mine is a 5 amp hour battery, and it takes longer to charge than it does on. So if I use it for about 7 hours, it'll take probably 12 to charge. I've left it overnight, and it's it's going to be charged when I wake up. No. So the bigger battery you use, you have to consider them. They're not as there's not a quick charge. It's not the same thing as a cell phone in that sense. It's the tech is not as advanced.
No, it looks like the next panel is starting to show up.
That's
probably our cue.
We want to thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. We do talk about it on there. So thank you all.
Thank you.